This morning we're going to give it a team effort. Nerise is joining me this morning on this side of the camera. If you actually have a look here at the reeds that he's pulling out. So elephants, we know elephants are the architects of the bush, so they are responsible for redistributing those reeds that they're pulling out. You'll see he pulls out a bit and you'll chew it a little bit and then it drops into the sand again. And often if the conditions are correct, those reeds will actually send roots down again and start to grow again.
Yeah, very interesting, Matt.
Elephant bulls are known for being quite solitary animals. They are sometimes found around the breeding herds, but they're not really part of the breeding herds. When a young male elephant starts becoming sexually mature, the female will actually push him out of the breeding herd. And that's just to stop him from being a bit too boisterous with the younger cows, and then also trying to mate with family members, which is not ideal. So there's quite a controversial history about ivory. For about quite a long time, about 100 years ago, elephant ivory was quite a traded commodity. People were coming up into these areas down from the Cape and from around lower parts of South Africa to look for this ivory. Nowadays you don't often find these bigger bulls with larger tusks like that, so it's quite special to see him.
Yeah, talking about redistributing plants and being the architect, they are a massive scale architects actually. So to see where these, especially these bulls, move, their area where they move is incredible. The Elephants Alive, which is the NGO in this area that research the elephants, they have a few bulls that they collar, especially these big tuskers, as we call them, with the bigger tusk. And their area that they walk in is massive. So they will go on this nomadic track actually. When they go into must, we have talked about must before, raised testosterone levels. So when they go in search of females of a breeding herd, they walk. From here they would walk, because we're in this open system, the Greater Kruger area, they walk from the Glacieri where we are, all the way through the neighboring reserves, the Baluli, up. There's one bull that goes all the way up into Kruger, Matt, to Satara, like the middle of the Kruger, and that's a far trek for an animal to walk, and then he spends time there. And the amazing thing for me is actually that they walk and then come back on the same route.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Yeah. So mentioning the architecture again, yeah, I do like that description of them. And you know, there's that very controversial thing about elephants, and they damage the bush and they such massive scale destructors and all of that. But oh guys, look at that sun now. Oh wow, look at that sun. The sun is coming through the clouds now. He's just behind the bush, but actually if you get that sun on him, oh man, sorry, I got distracted there by this beautiful sunlight. But yes, architects. So they are so important for this kind of habitat. We are in a woody savanna, and that means we're still in a savanna. I think when people think of a savanna, they think of the Serengeti, Masai Mara, yes, grass, a few acacia trees. But we're still in a savanna. The savanna is a massive biome of Africa. And we call this the woody savanna. So that means lots of woody shrubs, trees. It makes it much more dense. So if you would remove the elephants out of this kind of habitat, it will have a massive negative effect on the bush. And that is why they're actually the only keystone animals in this area, in Africa actually, the land animals. And that means a keystone animal means if you remove them, then the habitat will have a massive loss. So what the negative effect actually will be is, so what they do is, of course, they have these huge bodies, break branches. So for us, we see damage. We see, oh no, that tree is damaged, that tree is gone. But actually, it creates new habitats for small birds. You have the waxbills making a micro-habitat amongst these fallen branches. You have scrub hairs. That scrub hairs are the hares that we find here. They're mostly nocturnal, but they will actually in daytime they will go and sit underneath those fallen trees because the grass will start growing, and then they will go and sit there, and then they give us a massive fright when we walk in the bush and you are aware of all these animals, and then they scrub it like out of the bush. And so so that they do. When they push down trees, that gives nutrients back into the soil. And then of course also a very important thing is, because I mentioned the woody savanna, very more dense, they make pathways through the bush actually, so for other animals to get through these very dense bushes. And that's all the elephants work, and that's why we say they're architects. They change actually the look of the habitat as well over hundreds of years. Some areas, the whole topography and the landscape is changed by elephants, and that's incredible.
It's incredible. So what we're doing here is we're actually just going to wait for the elephant to come out. The best way to view elephants is allow them to come towards you. Then you're not pushing into their personal space bubble.
So we're hearing him. He's going to come right out now. Hopefully we'll get nice and close.
Right.
Oh. So sometimes safari happens right like 5 minutes out of camp, and this is the case this morning. You can still see camp here, and because it is now a little bit more quiet around the camps at this stage of where the world is at the moment, the animals are really relaxed, coming right close to our waterhole. Our waterhole is just behind this river that we passed now. It's the Nerise River. The camp is built on this river or drainage line, and so it has water when it's rainy season. Then when it rains a lot in the mountains, the river comes down, and we have a little waterhole here, and then we've had amazing animals actually coming to our waterhole in this time, and I'm sure this big guy also had a drink. So I don't know if you have heard the term gentle giants. That is really what they are. Of course they can get, aggressive, and so when they are threatened, all animals actually in the bush, that is when animals get aggressive, it's because they're threatened. So it's either we getting too close, or they're feeling uncomfortable, or you startle them, or whatever the case is. But gentle giants is because they walk so softly. It is incredible. Like, we have sat here now with this elephant for 10 minutes or so, and the only reason you can hear him is because of the breaking of branches. But you can literally, if you would walk here and he won't eat, even if he walks, you won't hear him. So, and the reason is their feet. When you see an elephant foot, which is now a massive foot, they actually walk kind of like on their toes. So in this massive footprint, they're right in the quarter bit in front. That is actually only where they are stepping. That's where the bone part is. The rest at the back here is kind of like a shock absorber, like a sponge absorbing all this weight of this big bull, 6 tons, 6,000 kilograms. I mean, to absorb all that weight. So they walk on these kind of shock absorbers, and that is why they are so quiet. Like when you would walk in the bush and a whole herd would walk kind of close to you, the only thing you hear is the branches that break. So you don't hear their footsteps.
Yeah, that fatty tissue is actually, it's got such an important role as well, Nerise, is that it's full of nerve endings. So it's actually a pad of fatty tissue with nerve, and that fat is to protect the nerve endings. And then those nerve endings are responsible for absorbing those ultra high frequency rumbles that they use.
Sound.
And that's how they communicate over these huge kilometers.
I know.
I mean, it's
incredible. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, no, that is a fascinating thing with these elephants. They are so dynamic and intelligent. They are they known to be, actually they have classified them now as sentient beings. So which means they, when they mourn for their dead, and they get like sad, they get excited, and not to put human emotions on them, and make it all, you know, human-like. But still, they do. I have seen it. You have seen it. When you spend time with these animals, they are super intelligent, and just to witness their family structure and that communication through the soil with these rumbling sounds, and I mean, it's incredible. It's really incredible to spend time with them, and it is such a privilege. And we both hope to see you here with us on the vehicle, the safari vehicle, and spending such a special moment like this with us, and grabbing your camera, coming to capture some special moments. He might walk in front of us now. That will be extra special. Yeah, so it looks like this bull is not feeling the magic this morning to give us a nice and close shot. But we're gonna leave him. It's been incredible just to spend some time with him. I think he would like to just hang here in this thick bush for now. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, he's a bit camera shy.
Yeah, I think so. So we're gonna continue on and see what else we can find, what's interesting this morning.